Hello, welcome to FibroWarrior-My New Normal. I'm MJ Aragon, and I'm here with my producers, JoJo Merritt and Tony Jeffries.
Hi.
Today I will be sharing a poem by Dylan Barmer. We'll discuss confidentiality and why it's important in fibro closed groups. And then I will introduce baby, my Rosy Boa. So I'm going to read the poem by Dylan Barmer. And I was going to read his haikus, but I came across this poem that I really like, so I decided to read this one instead. But he does write some beautiful haikus as well. So here it goes. The world can turn a blind eye, show a stone heart, hit me with its worst shot, lowest blow. But love, it will always flow with and from me. See, I bring poetry to places that may need it most. Lord knows we all could use a little love, lust, fun, inspiration crossbred with passion. You can tie me to the train tracks and shoot me full of every arrow, bullet ever made by man, but I will remain the kind of man who never stays down. So go ahead and take your shots, run me over, then back me up. F it, I'll be ready. Waiting pen in hand and hope in heart, fire in my eyes, because you see, a true romantic never dies. And this gentleman, he has a website. He does ad marketing and branding work as well, and it's called wordisborn.net, www.wordisborn.net. And he also has www.randomactsofpoetry.net. And what he does is, and this is why I wanted to share his stuff, he goes around, he writes haikus, and he goes around and gives them to people that he thinks need a little sunshine in their life, needs a smile. So in particular, he had seen someone who looked particularly sad that day, and he had overheard her complaining, and he gave her one of his haikus, and she said it really made her day. So I think things like that are wonderful. We need more things like that in life. I don't think that enough people think about others. I think we're all so self-involved, and it's quite sad. And I think that's a big part of why he does this. He was saying that it's a passion project, and it's to get us away from phones and screens for a bit, to connect face-to-face, inspire handwriting of poetry or letters or cards or anything. He's been doing this most days from October 2009, and the haiku themes are pretty universal. He touches on loss and love, overcoming adversity, the heart, the soul, kindness, nature, etc. Basho is, if I'm saying that correctly, I hope, is a real inspiration, as are the beat poets. Basho used to wander the Japanese countryside and teach the people who write haiku, which came from the court nobles. He was kind of a Buddha figure, and he suggested that y'all check him out. So he gave it all up to wander the beats, Kerouac, on the road, etc. He says he's dealt with, now he's not a fibro warrior, I want to point out, but he does have chronic pain, and that's part of what we deal with. So, you know me, my arms are open to everyone and everything that we deal with. Just because it's not the same thing that I'm dealing with doesn't mean that they don't deserve recognition. And so once again, he's someone that you could look at and probably wouldn't know that he has all these things going on. So he has dealt with a lot of anxiety, depression, heartbreak, lots of physical neck and back pain as well. But he keeps trying to do what he does, and the best he can. He gives, his haikus to people, and not every single time is an awesome response, but I think for the majority, from what we talked about, he gets pretty good responses, and I can't imagine anyone not accepting something so beautiful, such a wonderful gift. So,
cool.
If someone came up and gave you a haiku, I don't care, man, woman, who it is, like, give you something from their heart, something they took time to write and give to you.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
The response should be happy, right, and appreciative.
Yep.
But for the most part, I'm sure that he gets those responses. Also, he noted that along with his other things that cause him pain, he has scoliosis. and herniated discs, spinal stenosis, things like that. There's quite a few of those things that I can actually relate to myself, so I completely understand where he's coming from and the pain that he must be dealing with on a daily basis. And like me and most of us, I'm sure he hides it quite well, and he doesn't want everyone to know how he's feeling. We keep those things for ourselves. But he does write about a lot of subjects that are close to all of our hearts, I'm sure, that we can all connect with. So please check him out. I will, of course, add the links, both of them, so you may check him out yourself when we put this out. And so you can read his other haikus. He has some really beautiful ones. Did I save any of those? I don't think I saved any of those. So I also, thank you, by the way, Dylan, for allowing me to share those. Your poem, and hopefully people will come check out your website. So thank you very much. Sorry, I get off track sometimes. I also wanted to talk about something that's really important. So recently, in the last month, a couple of people, I belong to a couple groups. A couple that are near and dear to my heart. One that my friend Kim Johnson is an admin on, and the one that I talk about most often is Dear Fibro. Now, there are people that purposely come onto these sites. Now, mind you, these sites are closed groups, okay? They're closed groups so that we can feel secure and are able to share the things that we can't share with the everyday person. So, it's important that we have a safe space, and that's what these groups are supposed to be. They're supposed to be a safe space. Unfortunately, we have these ignorant people. Yeah, seriously. Trolls, catfish, there's a myriad of names I'm sure we could call them, but they're people that don't think about consequences. And so they get on these sites and they read someone's heartbreak, their story of the pain and the suffering and things that they deal with in life that's important and close to their heart. They're bearing their soul, basically. And then we have this idiot come on and read these things and screenshot them and share them on other groups. And this is not supposed to happen. What is shared is kind of like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right.
Same concept. It's supposed to stay within the group. We're sharing with people who are like-minded and understand. This is why we get to share those things on these groups. And when we have someone come on and disrupt that, now you've lost the confidence of somebody because they think, and this one particular person, it was her first time ever posting anything about herself. She finally opened up and shared something that was hard to
Right,
talk about,
yeah.
that she couldn't talk about with anyone else. So she shared it on the page, and then some idiot took it, and apparently, I don't know verbatim what happened, but shared it on another group where someone else saw it. I don't want to say too much because I don't want it to be obvious what I'm talking about, but shared on another group where someone else saw it, their feelings were hurt. I'm sure that caused feelings between them to be bad, and who knows what has come from that or stemmed from that situation. But the point is that these groups are meant to be safe. What we talk about there is meant to stay there. We are opening ourselves up to people that are supposed to understand how we feel, to know in our hearts that they get it when most other people don't. It's difficult for someone to understand who doesn't deal with the daily pain, the day-to-day suffering, and the things that come up in life that for the average person is so simple, but for us it takes much more energy and effort. And to be able to open up and talk about the things that you can't talk about other people is relieving. We talked about, I believe it was the last episode, where writing things down, kind of like Dylan writing his poetry,
Right.
you writing your songs, I've written poetry, I've sang songs. The intro to this podcast every week is my song that I did way back when. Those things are expression. Those things help us relieve ourselves of whatever we may be feeling, writing my blogs and things like that. So being able to come onto a page where people also have fibro and RA and all the things, the myriad of things that we all have connected with it, to be able to talk about those things and how we feel and the struggles that we go through, and then have someone take that and share it with other people and someone that it could hurt. The person who wrote it, obviously, you're hurting them, and then whoever else it's being shared with, just knowing that you don't care enough to leave this person be. Like, you just get on there and sharing things that aren't for you to share. It's not your information to share. And it's stated on these pages, you are not supposed to screenshot, share, or
Oh,
anything.
really?
These things are meant to stay, yeah, unless the person gives express permission, which
Right.
I usually do. If there's something I want to write and I think people should hear, I'll say, hey, feel free to share this. But if you are writing about something that's personal, about your life, about your struggles, of course you're not going to want other people to take this and share it other places.
Right.
It was meant to be shared there where you felt safe. And this happened on my other friend's page. My friend, her page, someone got on there and basically was bashing people, you know? And I'm like, what kind of person does something like that? I can't even
Somebody
get
with
in a
nothing
brain.
else.
I can't even begin to get into someone's brain that thinks that way because I'm too compassionate. I have empathy. I understand the struggles, you know, and because of what I've been through, because of the things I've been through since I was a little girl, you know, and growing up and learning all these things, thinking that things were my fault until I became an adult and realized these things were not my fault. These are things that happened to me. I didn't ask for them. It's something that, you know, you grow up feeling guilty and everything's your fault. People talk about these things. They talk about really private, intimate things, you know. So for someone to just treat it as if it's nothing, tell them, oh, what is it? Suck it up, you know, pull up your pants, you know, move on with it, forget about you. It's not that simple.
It's like if you have time to do that, then you have nothing else going on in your life, and that's sad because first of all, you don't even have time to do that. If you have, like, you should be doing something for yourself or have something, you know what I mean, to make your life better or something, some other form, some other activity besides going and bashing people. Those are the saddest people in the world because they have nothing for themselves.
Yeah.
So they have to go. I don't know. I don't know why they do it, but I know that's part of it. Like to even make time to do something like that is super sad. It's like because you have nothing going on for yourself in your life.
True. Things that I've discovered. I'm like I said, I'm not the smartest person in the world. You know, I'm fairly intelligent, but I don't know everything. But what I do know about things and people's nature and why they do some things, I've discovered that people that do things like that, and this is my own experience, of course, so my opinion. People that do things like that, they usually have something either going on in their own life and they're miserable.
Yep.
So talking about other people makes them feel better, or they just simply want to knock others down to
Make
make
themselves
them
feel better. Yep.
bigger, to make them feel on top. I feel not sorry. I don't want to say I feel sorry, but I feel
No.
bad for someone who is dealing with something that's that awful that they feel like they need to be awful to other people. To me, when you're dealing with something bad, that should make you realize
Other people feel
other
this way.
people's misfortunes and empathize and, you know, not the other way around. So, but there are some people that handle it in that fashion who take their heartache or pain or misfortune or anything that's made them angry in life, and instead of finding a positive way to express themselves, they do it in a negative fashion, which hurts many other people, unfortunately.
It's like bullies, you know, like bullies usually
Yes.
have something going on at home and they feel so
Very
bad
true.
that they have to find somebody to pick on. So it's like
Very
they probably
true.
go there and they say these things man, I just had the thought and I lost it that fast.
About them taking
the
what happens
bullies.
to them, they're doing basically
Yeah.
what's happening to them, they're doing it to
You're
other
doing
people.
it to other people, but I had a reason for, I lost it. It'll come back to me in a
Yeah,
second. But
yeah.
pretty much the same thing bullies do.
Yeah. No, that's actually a good example. I don't like bullies at all.
Right.
And I let people know, because I'm an admin on Dear Fibro, as I've mentioned before, and if I ever see someone do something like that, I will not be kind to them because that is the worst of the worst. That's the worst thing you could do. So I will definitely say something. You remember
Yeah, I remember what it was.
Yeah.
They probably see a support page and they're like, oh, why doesn't anybody support me and what I'm going through? Let me bash these people. Same thing a bully would do. If they see all these things,
right.
you know.
Or they think they're easy pickings.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these people have things, so it's easy to hurt. People have been through a lot. Okay, I can be sensitive. I can be very sensitive. It's not all the time. Sometimes I don't have any emotion at all towards things. It just depends on how I'm feeling that day. And you know, so some of us are extremely sensitive, and it's understandable. When you've been through as much as a lot of us have, I recently made a post about asking people things that have connected to fibro. I'm not going to talk about any of the things that they told me, but the discussion led me to believe that we have all been through terrible, torturous, awful things that have caused us to be here today. And the strength that these women and men show through all the adverse, all the, I'm coming up with the wrong word, I know through all the things.
Adversity?
Adversity. I was gonna say adverse effects, I'm like, no, that's not a big deal. Sorry, I do that sometimes, my brain fog, I apologize. Going through all of this, all of the things that they've been through, and they're still here, they're still fighting, and they still want to live life, and they want it to get better, and we're all hoping, of course, for a cure someday. You know, you have to think about, some people are really sensitive. You say something to them that's mean, they're gonna cry, they're gonna be upset, they're gonna be hurt, and you can cause, now this is what you really need to think about. You can take someone who's struggling and fighting so hard to stay on this earth and be present and get through each day, and say something awful to them, and what if that person decided that they wanted to end their life because of what you said? Think about that. What kind of person would do that purposely? So think about your words first. It's difficult. I wrote a little post on my regular Facebook page, and I don't remember verbatim what I wrote, but something along the lines of, you know, we already have such a difficult time connecting with others. On social media, we're not really connecting. I mean, we're connecting like, hey, how you doing? And we're all telling all these how wonderful our lives are. No one's really connecting like truly. And, you know, it's difficult to know what someone else is going through because we are hiding the difficult things. We're only showing the good stuff on Facebook and Instagram and all those things, you know. So you have to be kind. Be kind to others because you don't know what the other person is going through. Everyone has something going on in their lives. You don't know what it is. They could have lost a loved one. They have a major surgery coming up that's scary. You know, they lost a child, or their child's suffering, or some, you know, there's so many things, the list could go on. My point is you don't know what's going on in someone else's life, so choose your words. Choose to be kind first. There's no need for the negativity and the anger and the aggression and just being plain mean to people. There's no need for that. This is why I love my crew. My crew, the people that I surround myself are awesome, wonderful people, and they believe like I do myself to be kind to people. It's important. You know, we gotta spend our energy doing good things, not the negative stuff that seems to come across. And I see people jump down each other's throats over politics and religion, and I just want to say, just because you don't agree on something doesn't mean that you have to be evil with your words. Right. You can say something, consciously get your point across without being mean about it. Yeah, we all have our own opinions. We're allowed to have our own opinions, but you don't have to bash someone else's beliefs and opinions because it's not in tune with yours.
Right.
I don't care.
Disagree and
Yeah.
just be done with it. That's it. It's that simple.
You know, I myself, I don't segregate myself from anybody. I love everybody. I know that sounds so, oh yeah, she's so worldly. No, I really truly try to love and understand everybody. Yeah, I haven't grown up in the projects, and I don't live in, I'm not a Muslim, and who the girls, the things that happen, I don't want to get into it, it's so awful, but the things that happen to women in some of these other countries is horrendous. And I haven't experienced those things. I've had a crappy life, but oh my God, think about the stuff that other people go through in other countries, and here we are in America saying things like, oh, we don't want them here, you know. Who does that? Just because you've lived this privileged, wonderful life that you don't want to help others? I do not comprehend that. But everyone, once again, has their own opinion, and I'm not going to point that person out and talk negatively and put them down because that's what they believe, because they were raised that way. There's a reason that they think that way. And a lot of it is because of what their parents told them, and some people grow out of it and learn on their own, but some people are so conditioned to what they were surrounded by their whole life that people are a bit closed-minded. Their ignorance is not always their fault. So once again, because someone's opinion is not like yours doesn't mean you have to be angry and mean and go off on each other. It's so unnecessary. We need to be positive and happy and say nice things and put the positive spin. When we were going through the election and everybody was so negative, and before and after, you know, I really tried to say, hey, you know, family members, people who are supposed to love each other are saying awful things to each other, and I'm like, that's it. You guys need to stop. you say what you need to say, but say it nicely. Get your point across without saying mean things and putting each other's business out there in such a way. I was so appalled. I was so appalled by how people were reacting, and I really, really did. If you want to go back and check my Facebook page, you'll see posts that I put up trying to keep the peace, essentially, trying to keep it positive. I mean, there was so much negativity on Facebook. It was sad. It was stressing me out. This is why, when we talked about this before, I don't like talking about politics and religion, because it gets so heated, and people don't know how to have a conversation without getting angry. So we need to really think about that before we speak on anything. We have to think about what the other person's been through, why they think that way. Yeah, it takes a little extra time because you have to think about these things. It's okay though. We can take that extra time. Everything doesn't have to be done in 3 seconds.
Right.
Our attention span, is so short these days. It's minute compared to the way we used to read newspapers and sit around leisurely and read things and talk. Now, and face-to-face talk. Now I see children, teenagers, and even young adults and some older adults, they're talking to each other, they're sitting by each other and talking to each other through their phone. I'm sorry, that's insane.
Yeah, it's
You're
crazy.
right next to each other. Have a conversation. It's fun. You learn new things about each other. It doesn't have to be LOL, TMI.
Right.
You don't have to write all these little short, you can actually have a conversation and say the words in whole instead of putting them into acronyms. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
So what I really want to put across here is love each other. I don't mean love like, oh, I love you. Love each other, like show love and compassion. Be kind and really make that extra effort. We can make that extra effort. I know time's not our friend and things go by and things happen quickly, but honestly, the time that you're spending on the phone and reading other people's things, you could be out with friends. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out and done things with family, friends, my children, whatever, and then realized that, man, we didn't take any pictures. But you know what? I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that I forgot to take pictures. That taking a picture was not important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that we didn't have a picture of the moment, but I have the memory. We had a good time. We laughed. We talked. We had fun. We had good dinners. We had sushi, whatever the case may be. But we enjoyed ourselves. It was fun. I had fun. Yeah, I didn't take some pictures. That's all right. Another time, we have to realize that hanging out with other people, that's important. I'm not talking about just going to a bar where it's loud and nobody's having a conversation during that time, or going to a movie, you're not having a conversation. Yeah, those things are fun. But I'm talking about going out to dinner with friends and sitting down and having a real conversation, or going to each other's house and having a glass of wine and chatting, whatever you think is fun. But something where you're actually looking at each other. Hi, how you doing? It's so
Right.
good to see you. Instead of, hey, what's up? Ha ha ha, LOL. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's better things we can do with our time. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm guilty as well, but I think about it all the time. I hate that this is how things are. Unfortunately, people like myself are stuck at home a lot, so our phone is our outlet. But it's just sad to see how much society as a whole is so self-involved and narcissistic, basically. And I bring this up, often because sometimes I feel a little bit narcissistic when I'm talking about things that I'm doing, but I don't mean for it to come out that way. I'm proud of what's happening here. I'm proud of this FibroWarrior-My New Normal. I'm proud of this, so I do speak on it quite often. So my apologies if I talk about it too much. I know that my improv family teases me because I talk about it so much. So when we do little clips about making fun of each other, that always comes up.
Right.
Oh, I have fibro. Did you have fibromyalgia? Did you not have fibro? Did you not have, so they make jokes about me all the time. But it's fun. It's all in fun. And you know what? I'm fine with that.
Right.
But it's an important thing. It's something that I feel that I'm doing that's important. So I do talk about it. And so finally, I wanted to introduce you. So with allergies, and we have to forego having pets like cats and dogs and things like that.
Dander.
So, yes. So, and I've had dogs and Bill had cats and but even since I was a child, I've had reptiles. And so this is Baby, and I know some of you are probably scared to death of snakes, but this is Baby. And I've gone out. We lived in our house. We lived in the desert in Palm Springs, and our house was the last house on the block at the time when I was a kid. And my brother and I, we go out and catch snakes like shovel nose and things like that, and then take care of them. Whatever. We had cats, dogs, rabbits, snakes, lizards, tarantula at one time. My brother and sister, I think, had rats at one point, which were really smart, by the way. You'd be surprised how smart they are. They're very intelligent. All kinds of crazy things like that. I had a Colombian red-tail boa. He passed away a few years ago. He got really, really big. I actually had to give him away because my late husband, was scared to death of him. So
How big will she get? That's a girl, right?
yeah, she will get 4 feet. That's the biggest she will get. And then her male counterpart will not get bigger than 3 feet.
Really?
Yeah. Now, the Rosy Boa is the most docile snake there is. And a lot of times I know people come across snakes and they freak out. For the most part, you can tell if a snake is poisonous or not. For example, look at her head, how slender her head is. There are other snakes, though, that are, so I'm not saying every snake, but just in general, you can tell. Now, if the snake has a triangular head, then it's very likely that it is poisonous.
Like a copperhead.
Yeah.
They got the triangle heads.
Yeah. So there are ways that you can tell. There are patterns. Like if you see an hourglass pattern on a, is it a copperhead? I think maybe have those.
They have an hourglass pattern?
There's some snakes that have like an hourglass pattern. Stay away from those. Sidewinders, rattlesnakes. Those are all very dangerous. Speaking of sidewinders. So when I was in, I want to say 6th grade, I believe. My parents went out, and a friend of the family, she came and stayed with us while they were out. And, we have lots of plastic lizards and snakes and things like that. My brother and sisters did as toys, so they leave them over the house randomly. So a bunch of us have walked by the snake by the hallway several times during the night, and then I walked by and I realized it moved. And so this toy snake that we thought it was not a toy. It was a sidewinder. So my brilliant behind, like I said, I've always loved reptiles. So I decided to get those tongs like you use to get corn out of the pot, and you get a snake behind its head. Now, do not do this. You have to have experience with things. But because I've been catching lizards and things my whole entire life, I knew how to do it. So anyway, I get behind it, I grabbed it by its head, put it in a glass jar. Yes, a glass jar. Very smart, I know. Tupperware back then was not see-through, so the glass jar seemed like a good idea so I could show people. So I took it to school the next day.
Wow.
Mind you, my teacher was not happy with me. And so she sent me to the principal's office with it, not to get in trouble, but just to take the snake there and leave it there because she was worried it would get dropped and break. Now, at the time, as a kid, I wasn't thinking about I might drop it and break it. I was thinking about, oh, look what I was proud that I caught this thing, So my principal was really cool, and he's like, what, if your friends want to come see it, it'll be here in the office, they can come. So my friends would come in and go see it, and they're like, oh my God, you caught that. So I was very proud of myself that I did this. But in hindsight, obviously, I shouldn't have brought it in a glass jar, or brought it at all, I'm sure. Because my poor teacher, and I loved her, Miss Jackson was the bomb. I loved her. Yes, Miss Jackson. She was one of my favorite teachers. But yeah, she was like, oh no, honey, you need to take that to the office. But so I've had a lot of interaction and experience with snakes. And like I said, I know a lot of people, they look at snakes and they think they're evil and this and that. Not all snakes are evil. They have a bad rap. This girl right here, she's precious. Look, okay, on my face. Yes, not worried, not scared. I'm too big for her to eat anyway. So, but she's a sweetheart. She's so cute. She's easy to take care of. I'm not allergic to her. Yeah, I miss having furry, cuddly pets. Absolutely, I miss it all the time. But being that I don't feel that great all the time, it's nice to have a pet that's easy to take care of. When she's hungry, she starts wandering around her cage. I take her out every so often and handle her, let her hang out in the bed. She just wanders around. Sometimes she'll cuddle up with me. And but yeah, they're not the evil things that people think. I want to say and show you that they're pretty cool, especially ones like her. So, when people think snakes, oh, they're slimy and they're mean, and no, not all snakes are like that. There are some that are, but not all of them. So don't give them a bad rap. They're not all bad. Anyway, so that about wraps it up. I think I went over time. Sorry, I was talking today.
We're good.
But as you guys know, I appreciate you listening and watching, and we just had our 20th podcast, so pretty proud of that. I never imagined, like, if I told myself back then, you know, what I'd be doing today. I mean, I would have never thought that this was going to happen. I'm pretty proud of what we're doing here. So once again, thank you guys. You know, thank you so much for watching and listening and following and sharing, and it's so important. And so I guess we'll wrap it up. Any last words?
No, I don't think I have any. Pretty soon we'll be on many different platforms.
Yeah.
So look for that in the next two weeks probably.
Yeah, for the podcast,
the podcast,
for
yeah.
the sound version of this,
Yeah, for the
we'll
podcast.
be on some other things. I'm thankful that we have Tony's doing all these wonderful things with video, and so now you get to see. Hi. So anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up. Say bye, baby. All right, y'all. You're not alone. Love y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all.
Falling in love with you is the wrong thing for me to do right now. I need a little time to myself, but you're always on my mind. Every day, every night, I want you by my side. What am I to do? I'm so confused when I...
Quick. Go get yourself checked. Tell your doctors how you're feeling. Make them listen to you, because even if you're the 10-minute doctor, you know, oh, I have to get you now. Tell them as much as the most important things. Make a list. Making notes is most important, so that way you remember, because my memory sucks. I have to make notes. So that way when I get in, I can say, here's my notes. This is what I want to talk about. So much easier. Takes some stress off of you. You won't forget, and that's really helpful. So just keep that in mind, okay?